I watched Obsession at 0.25 times speed and found tons of hidden details that nobody noticed. There are clues in the background of scenes, Easter eggs, symbolism, and even moments that completely change how you interpret the story. Right in the very first scene, Bear's at a restaurant practicing a love confession for Nikki, testing out the words on a friendly waitress. And keep an eye on Ian. The one moment Bear says something genuinely romantic,
that I would choose you over everything.
he's the one who cuts in and calls it cringe.
Stop. Okay, that was cringy.
Oh my god.
It's no accident. As we find out later, Ian is secretly sleeping with Nikki and spends the entire movie trying to sabotage Bear. Next, Bear gets home and finds his cat Sandy dead. All because of a bottle of oxycodone that Bear probably left open around the house, and the cat got into it. And there was that warning right there, do not eat. But I guess the cat can't read, right? If you pause the scene, you'll see the bottle belongs to Barbara Bailey, Bear's grandmother. Since he inherited the house recently, this suggests Bear had been going through his grandmother's medications and ended up leaving the bottle open out of carelessness, which already says a lot about a guy who doesn't take care of the things he loves. And there's a hidden detail on that same bottle. The address printed on it is in Mobile, Alabama, which just happens to be the city where Curry Barker, the film's director, grew up. Right after that, in Bear's bedroom, there's a photo strip, and it tells the whole relationship before the movie even starts. In one photo, blurry, Bear is basically dragging Nikki into the frame. The second photo shows Bear smiling and Nikki with a closed-off look on her face. The third photo shows Nikki and Ian smiling together, with Bear off to the side with a pouty face. And the fourth photo shows Sarah awkwardly inserting herself into this toxic dynamic. Some people read into it deeper and say her slumped position and an X marked over Ian's eyes already foreshadowed the deaths of those characters. Confirmed or not, the whole strip screams the same thing. Nikki never saw Bear the way he sees her, and his blindness becomes even clearer in the next scene. When Bear is stalking Nikki's Instagram, pause the screen. The photo was liked by Cooper_Tomlinson, which is exactly the actor who plays Ian. It seems like just an Easter egg, but it fits with everything. Ian was never on Bear's side. The real story starts when Nikki drops a crystal necklace down the drain and Bear goes to an occult shop to buy another one. That's where he finds the One Wish Willow, an old toy from the 60s that grants a wish when you snap off a branch. The saleswoman warns him right to his face that customers end up regretting the result, and Bear treats it like a joke. If you pause the scene with the One Wish Willow packaging, you'll see that the company behind the product is called Tabby Cat. That name is a nod to the channel That's a Bad Idea, created by the film's director and Cooper Tomlinson. And if you look at the shelves around him, there are voodoo items and a magic eye in the background. Could be nothing, or a setup for future curses in the franchise. It's just a theory, but the detail is there. Still on the saleswoman, she shows up again at another point in the movie and you didn't notice. During Ian's party, she appears in the background, watching everything, but it probably only happened because of the movie's low budget.
He closed the door and leaned against it.
After buying the One Wish Willow, Bear heads to the bar to meet up with his friends, and the bar's name should look familiar. Barker's, the director's last name. Everyone's together at the table, and you can catch Bear throwing Ian a look, basically telling him to give him and Nikki some space. But like we already know, Ian never wanted to help his friend, and that becomes obvious right after. Nikki goes off to grab some drinks, and Bear follows right behind her. For a moment, they actually get to talk, and it even looks like Bear is about to confess. But guess what? Right after, Ian shows up and kills the moment.
Guys, Sarah just told me that her dad...
What a great friend, huh? Now pay attention to Nikki, because on a first watch, there are moments where it looks like she's giving Bear signs of interest. On a rewatch, it clicks. She teases Bear about the pina colada, pays for everyone's drinks, and calls everybody babe, even the bartender.
I went to the store.
Open or closed?
Oh, open, babe.
It's not flirting. It's the kind of affection you'd have with a sibling. The only one reading it as romance is Bear and his obsession, and that's on purpose. The director confirmed he shot multiple takes of Nikki's scenes with Bear, some where she seems interested, some where she doesn't. In the end, he mixed the takes together, and since he was also the one editing the whole movie, that ambiguity is 100% intentional. And look at Sarah. When Bear proposes a toast to Sandy, the dead cat,
Sandy.
she's the only one who actually cares.
Why to Sandy?
She died.
Sarah liked Bear and genuinely cared about him. While Bear could only see Nikki, the movie was hiding a whole other story playing out right next to him. Later on, she even tried to warn him about Ian and Nikki's relationship, but she got cut off by her dad.
If Ian's gonna spread my shit, then you should know. Ian and...
In the car on the way home, Nikki tells him she's quitting her job to bring some love into her writing. She says it's not a romance, it's a love story. Bear thinks those are the same thing. It's not the same thing. When they get there, he goes and calls her Freaky Nikki, taking his great friend's advice.
Playfully mean, yeah, but bring up Freaky Nikki.
You want me to call her Freaky Nikki?
And obviously she's offended. Without the guts to say what he actually feels, he grabs the One Wish Willow and makes his wish that Nikki loves him more than anything in the world. And this is where the movie completely changes. Out of nowhere, Nikki's on the porch, a dark silhouette against the light, looking like a demon out of a horror movie. But she's not possessed. Barker was very clear about that. What took over her body is something new, created by the wish. And the real Nikki is still in there, conscious, stuck in the back seat of her own mind, feeling everything and unable to do a thing about it. She's off from the start, obsessed with the cat cat, thinking the cat was hers. For a second, the real Nikki comes back, but it doesn't last.
Wait, what the fuck?
Iggy, what the fuck?
Fake Nikki says her dad has cancer, gets in the car, and the two of them head to Bear's place together. And as soon as they get there, Bear hides a magazine, but the lotion sitting right next to it gives him away.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
That first night, while she's kissing him, the real Nikki resurfaces for a second and then disappears again. Then, while she's asleep, Bear looks up the Willow and finds a forum arguing about whether the thing is actually real. Plenty of replies say the Willow is real, but the only ones Bear pays attention to are the ones calling it fake, because that's the answer he wanted. And when he comes back, once again, there's her silhouette staring at him, always with her face hidden. The next morning, Bear wakes up, and here's one of the easiest frames to miss. Look at the background. She crosses the doorway behind Bear in one quick, almost invisible movement, and he doesn't even notice. Then the camera pans down and reveals she dug the cat out of the grave and set up a kind of altar, like a cat bringing its owner a dead animal as a gift. And hold on to that, because this cat behavior is a pattern throughout the entire movie, and we're coming back to it. At work, Bear tells Ian what happened. A normal conversation, until you zoom in on the counter in the background. Fake Nikki, out of focus behind him, slowly turns her head and starts staring at Bear. And then, for the next 3 minutes, every time it cuts back to him, she's still there. She doesn't blink, doesn't move, doesn't shift position. It builds this constant sense of unease without ever calling attention to itself. When he gets home, Bear looks up the effects of a drug on his computer. Pause it and read the search history, because going backwards, it rebuilds the guy's entire life. You get classic romance movies, How to Play Basket Case by Green Day, How to Impress a Girl, How to Flirt, How to Know If You're in the Friend Zone, then oxycodone, and months earlier, nursing homes and old people homes. It's the full timeline. First the grandma, then the pills, and only then the obsession with Nikki. It's a smart way to show his psychological unraveling without needing a single line of exposition. At the same time, he's on the phone with Ian, and if you look at the background, you can see her shadow approaching the house. She knocks on the door, wearing a red dress, way more provocative this time, with a strange glow reflecting in her eyes. She plays on Bear's insecurity, his fear that he's taking advantage of a woman who isn't in her right mind, and she asks the question, "Do you have feelings for me?" And now the guy decides to be honest.
Do you have feelings for me?
Yeah, I do.
Come on, man. He had the chance to do that days earlier with the real Nikki. But okay, the two of them are living a beautiful romance now. And Barker leans all the way into it, shooting a full-on romantic comedy montage. They laugh together at a meme that says, "I want to wear your skin as a sweater." It looks like just weird couple humor, but it's a setup that's way more literal than it seems. Hold on to that one, because it comes back in a horrible way. And two details. Wish Nikki starts wearing a headband identical to the waitresses from the first scene. And while they're watching a movie, she just stares at Bear, and he mechanically turns her chin back toward the TV, like someone who's done it 1,000 times already, numb from living with it. At dinner, Ian calls and tells him Nikki lied about her dad's cancer. And look at where Bear takes the call, right in front of a huge willow tree mural on the wall. A quiet reminder that everything happening there is a consequence of the wish. In the background, Nikki shows up, and when he confronts her about the truth behind her dad's cancer, we get the famous scene.
No, 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 don't do that!
It's a direct reference to Georgina from Get Out, another story about losing control of your own body.
No. No, 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 no.
Still in that same scene, when Nikki says she loves Bear, you can clearly see her shaking her head no, like she doesn't actually want to be saying that. And when Bear asks if he's the person she loves most in the world, she says yes, but notice how she doesn't even look him in the eyes.
Yes, more than anyone.
That night, we get the scariest scene in the movie. After they hook up, Bear wakes up and realizes Nikki isn't in bed anymore. He looks for her in the dark room and can't find her.
Go back to sleep.
Just like that famous shot in Hereditary, the movie lets your eyes adjust to the pitch black until you realize she was there the whole time. And she slides out of the shadow with a speed and smoothness that are completely unnatural. At one point, Nikki hides her face behind a vase and the shot just seems odd. But that detail might symbolize the fight between the real Nikki and the version created by the Wish, like the original personality is trying to take back control for a few seconds. Her voice distorts.
I feel like you don't love me as much as I do.
Her face distorts along with it, but it's so dark you can barely say what you just saw, and that almost human but wrong feeling has a behind-the-scenes explanation. The director used what's called uncanny valley makeup, a viral trend on social media. Instead of creating a monster, the team erased her features. From a distance, she looks almost human, but wrong, like a doll. The next morning, Bear notices she cut off a lock of his hair, and then a detail almost nobody catches. Nikki is reading a book, completely upside down. At normal speed, it flies right by you. Slowed down, it's obvious she's just staring at nothing, imitating somebody's habit. In other words, this Nikki is just mimicking human behavior. Right after that, when he leaves for work after seeing that shot of the door covered in tape, she just stands there waiting for Bear to come back, like she doesn't know how to act without him around. In the lunch she packs for Bear, there are 2 Polaroids. The second one is a selfie of her smiling while he was asleep, and written on it, "Not me." That's the real Nicky, still conscious in there, calling for help the only way she can. And the Sandy Witch? Yeah, that was his actual cat. Finally realizing something is off with Nicky, Bear calls the Tabby Cat Hotline, the company behind the Willow. The guy on the line tells him only death breaks the spell, that Bear has a moral obligation to stay. And then he lets Bear hear the real Nicky screaming in agony from inside. Fun fact, the voice on the other end of the line is Curry Barker himself.
That's my voice, yeah.
When he gets back home, there's Nicky, still standing in the same spot, completely filthy. And here's a weird detail. If you look at the stuff she threw up on the floor, it looks like there's some cat food in there, which only reinforces the idea that Nicky is imitating Bear's cat. In the scene where everyone's playing Jenga at Ian's party, Nicky decides to read something she wrote herself. The poem sounds strange the first time around, but it's actually inspired by Hansel and Gretel. And that monologue was written by Jeff Barker, the director's dad. In her version of the classic story, she turns the relationship between the siblings into something obsessive and incestuous. Nicky saw Bear as a little brother.
He said she just thought of you like her little brother, or, you know, and she like friend zoned you.
In other words, to her, that kind of love is dirty in a way, almost like incest.
I'm more than your wife. I'm your sister.
She ends the poem saying, "I knew he would not leave this place. He would relent and choose to be inside me like he had many nights before. Hansel is my soul."
Only the branch of a willow tree could conjure. Brother, you will be inside me tonight.
And yeah, it's pretty clear that was the real Nicky in there, putting into words exactly what she was feeling. Then Bear pulls a piece that forces him to kiss whoever's on his left, Sarah. Nicky makes that iconic pouty face, drags Sarah away, and right after, the real Nicky comes back and repeats what was written on that photo moments earlier.
It's not me! It's not me!
That night, Bear sneaks out to see Sarah. This is the first time since he made the wish that Bear actually gets to talk to the real Nicky, and she asks him for one thing.
Just kill me.
And Bear's response? What would be so bad about being with me? That's the moment he stops being the victim, and it gets worse. He drags Sarah into all of this, and she ends up dying in a brutal way. Honestly, on a rewatch, that death hurts even more. She didn't deserve any of it. She had just gotten into the college she wanted, but there's nothing we can do about it. Let's keep going. Being the great guy he is, Bear helps Nicky with Sarah's body, and right after, he goes looking for another one-wish willow. About time, right? Notice how his reflection is sharp now, unlike the beginning of the movie where it was blurry. Now we're finally seeing the real Bear. Then we find out he can't make any more wishes. Every time someone makes a valid wish, the one-wish willow plays this little jingle. When Bear tries to use the thing again, the music comes out distorted,
I wish Nicky Freeman only loved me as a friend.
showing he's lost that right. So Bear hands one to Ian and begs him to use it to wish the real Nicky back. And Ian, great friend that he is, doesn't believe a word of it and wishes for $1 billion. And it rains money. According to Barker, that money never disappeared, not even after Ian died. So the whole death breaks the spell rule only applies to wishes about romantic obsession. Bear gets home and finds a brand new shrine dedicated to him. And I didn't notice this on my first watch, but look at Nicky over in the corner. And there in the corner is Sarah's body, which is definitely going to be censored for you guys. Nicky is now wearing Sarah's dress. She drew Sarah's tattoos onto her own body, her hair looks the same, and she's smoking. And even worse, she takes a brick to her own face to look more like Sarah. Remember that meme, "I want to wear your skin as a sweater"? Yeah, it paid off. And now the final proof of that cat pattern. Rewatch the movie with this in mind and you'll see Wish Nicky was imitating Sandy the entire time. She glides around silently, hides in corners, watches Bear sleep, brings dead animals to her owner, and when she throws up waiting for him to come home from work, there's cat food in the vomit. She isn't copying a person, she's copying the thing Bear loved most. And here at the end, since Bear seemed to be giving Sarah attention, she does the exact same thing. The clothes, the tattoos, even the smoking. Ian breaks into the house to celebrate his $1 billion and Nicky shoots him. But how did she get that gun? It was probably Sarah's dad's, the guy who owns the place where they work. Ian even jokes about it at the beginning of the movie.
Guys, Sarah just told me that her dad keeps a gun in the break room safe.
Wow.
Bear locks himself in the bathroom. He knows there's no coming back from this. He grabs his grandmother's pills, the same ones that have been there since the beginning of the movie, the ones that killed the cat. He takes all of them and then immediately regrets it and tries to throw them back up. But it's too late. You can hear the One Wish Willow jingle in the background. Fake Nicky just made a wish that Bear would love her back the way she loves him. He opens the bathroom door, looks at her, and the two of them smile like a couple in love. Look at what's playing on the TV. It's Bear. Nicky was recording him at night and watching it back. Pretty messed up, right? Bear ends up dying in Nicky's arms. She almost takes her own life too, in a Romeo and Juliet kind of moment. But the spell breaks just in time, and the real Nicky comes back to a house with 3 dead friends in it. The director actually shot an alternate ending where Nicky own life as well, but he chose to leave her alive. And that's so much crueler. She's the one who took the gun from the music store, which probably had cameras. Any investigation is going to put all 3 deaths on her, and that's easily one of the worst fates in horror movie history. She didn't do anything wrong, and she's the one paying for all of it. And if you want to see other fates worse than death in horror movies, click on the screen and check it out. Some of them are seriously brutal. See you there.